So this week's 3-minute skill is beanbags. Now, they sound fairly simple. It's a bag for beans, but the way that you construct them and kind of reinforce the structure really does change how they can be used. The little polystyrene beads get everywhere, so you really want to avoid any kind of weak points as much as possible. And if you've got a family like mine who like to flump into chairs, you really need to make sure that the seams are all reinforced, or there are a minimum number of seams possible. So when I make a beanbag, I normally do a top drawer, so it's like it's a wide bottom bag with a small opening at the top, and you draw that together to close it. But the request this time has been for zip bottoms, which I am dubious about doing because zips can be more likely to kind of pop open on their own. So what I'm going to do is do double lined, or a lining and then the outside, just to hopefully reduce the risk of there being any kind of polystyrene bead explosion. So what I basically need is some fairly cheap fabric for my lining, and then whatever they want for the outside. So I've got to make 3 today, so that means 6 individual bags. So my first one is actually a 6-sided shape, and I didn't have enough fabric to do one long strip, so I've had to do individual pieces. But this is a fairly heavy duty upholstery corduroy, so I'm using the design to also create design in the final bag, which will be interesting. And all of them, the lining is the same. It's this cotton fabric, which is essentially scrap. It's an old mattress cover, bed sheet. So what I've done, I don't know how well it's going to come out on camera, but I've drawn out the shape of the bag in one long piece. So unlike my individual pieces here, which I've marked on side and top, this is all of them stuck together. So I've only got one joint along the side to worry about, and then a joint on the bottom, which I can't do much about because I didn't have enough fabric to do a piece that goes all the way around. The ideal piece would have this kind of shape. It would have 2 points either end, or a point either end, so you can bring them together like that. So you've only got one line of stitching to worry about. Didn't have enough fabric for that, so I'm making So I've got a fair bit on the fold here. That should be okay. Yeah. Okay, so just double that over and find my 6-sided one. This one here, I think. Yeah, that's 6-sided. So where I've left the opening at the top, I want to put in my handle. So I'm putting in the handle loop side down. That, and then just how much room I need. I don't need this entire length, I don't think, but and here my top sections of these two are wide enough to cover one side, and I'm going to tuck in the excess in between the layers. Do that on both sides like that. This is where I'm going to test my machine. Let's see how much guts it's got. There's a fair amount of fabric here to go through. I'm just going to stitch over and back once or twice just to secure that into place. Right, so once you've gone around your base and put your zip in, you just need to turn your bag the right way around. and then insert your lining. So got my handle at the top here and zip here. So it's easier if you try and keep the zip to the top, so that way everything's lined up together. Whether or not it stays that way during the process is, well, it's chance really. So just thread the handle through and just push all the body of the bag inside. Right. And to make this easier to fill, I use a couple of safety pins just to hold the two openings together and open, so that when we get some beans it's a lot easier to do the filling part. So I will put the measurements and all the instructions for a 6-sided and a 5-sided beanbag on my blog, so look them up. So that is ready to fill. And one thing to remember, that when you've filled this, there may be some lining visible through the top. There may not, depends on how much you're filling. So if there's lining visible, or inner bag visible, just run a line of stitches around the bottom edge of the handle and that'll cover that up. And to reduce the risk of any kind of leakage around the zip, when you zip up the first bag, sew the zip to the fabric, so that way it's not going to creep out on its own, hopefully. So yeah, that is how to make a beanbag, and I'll see you